Hi, this is Chris Mezera, author of Food Love and creator of Food Love's Transformation Accelerator. In this video, which I'm going to send you over to in a second, we're going to go over about 30 years of brutally honest advice with weight loss. And we're going to cover the main reasons why people don't lose weight, or if they start on a diet in 6 months or less, they're off that diet because they can't handle it. So here's a little spoiler alert. The emotional and the psychological has to come first. You have to be happy about the food that you're eating in order for it to be successful. So without further ado, head over to the video. Enjoy. So quickly about me, I'm just a regular food dude that became an industry pioneer and market founder when I was just trying to figure out how to eat pizza and ice cream without turning into the size of a house. When you're 6'2", 50 to 60 pounds spreads all over, so it doesn't look dramatic, but it still feels awful. So I became a certified holistic nutritionist, founder of Non-Restrictive Weight Loss and Food Love Movement, authored a book called Food Love, and created Food Love's Transformation Accelerator. So this all started at my 40th birthday party when my nephew challenged me to a race, and I couldn't even finish the race. I felt so pathetic. Besides having my body feel like it was on fire, I felt awful, completely awful as a person. Just going back and forth, fat to thin, feeling miserable no matter what I was doing. Miserable when I was losing weight because I had to be without the food that I loved. And miserable when I was gaining weight, feeling all the extra 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds of weight on me. It was a lose-lose no matter where I went. I wanted to figure out a way where I didn't have to give up the food that I loved in order to lose weight. And I knew this had to be bad for my health. I could feel it. I just felt completely hopeless. I felt like I was in a lose situation no matter what I did. I mean, nothing was working. Any diet that I went on would work and I would lose weight, but I was miserable having to restrict myself from this food group or this food group. If I killed myself with exercise, that would work, but then going to the gym became negative, and I would associate going to the gym with having to lose weight and the pressure of losing weight and restricting myself from food. I just couldn't figure out a way to not feel like crap. And then it happened. I remembered this book that I read in my 20s called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And he had explained that the poor mentality was to say, okay, I can't afford it. But the rich mentality was to ask, okay, how can I afford it? So I realized, okay, I had to ask a better question in order to figure this out. And that question was, how could I lose weight and happily keep it off for the rest of my days without restricting myself from the foods that I love? Without expensive foods, no gym requirement, fast, cheap, easy, and super yummy. Because I'm a super busy guy and all of these things are incredibly important to me. So the plan was to figure this out at all cost. I was so sick of putting on weight and taking it off and being miserable no matter what and restricting myself from my favorite foods. I searched and searched and there was nothing. I read every book I could get my hands on, and with all of them there was some food or food group I had to restrict myself from. I stopped relying on diet and weight loss experts, famous authors of famous diets to give me answers. I went old school. I used common sense and die-hard determination. That's when I realized I was going to have to figure this out on my own. And the moment I realized that, that's when everything happened and all the answers started coming to me, and they haven't stopped to this day. Now I can lose weight easily and happily without ever restricting myself from the food that I love, and I can teach anybody else to do the exact same thing. Over the last 10 plus years, I have discovered the hard way. You guys have a chance to get the easy way. If any of this sounds familiar to you guys, if this is exactly what you've been struggling with, it was probably the exact same thing that I was going through. And it was really, really hard trying this diet and then that diet, having something work, but then not feeling good because you had to restrict yourself. And I'm here to tell you, it's not your fault. I mean, who has the time to do things the hard way, aka what no one in their right mind would do, like read over 100 books that I read and spend over 1,000 hours reading. I mean, those 1,000 hours have a cost. If I would have invested those hours in my real estate business at that time, I was probably making about $50 an hour. That's like $50,000. About $10,000 for Tony Robbins Mastery University, $1,000 to become a certified holistic nutritionist, over $61,000, 2,000 hours, and 10 plus years later, and it still didn't give me the answers that I needed. You may have spent even more money than I did on programs that you've tried, or special food that you've had to purchase, time that you've taken from your life, mental and emotional health that you've lost because of this. The good thing for you guys is that it's not going to take 10 plus years, 2,000 plus hours, and cost you over $60,000 to make this happen. You probably didn't have the hours, days, and years that I spent figuring this out to discover this new vehicle. And the coolest thing is that when you understand all the things I'm going to show you in this presentation, everything is going to get really, really easy. And that's what we're going to get into right now. If you're tired of diets that force you to give up your favorite foods in order to lose weight, only to put all that weight back on once you quit that diet, then I invite you to try my completely free online program that will help you lose your first 10 to 15 pounds without giving up the foods that you love. So head on over to foodloveonline.com and get started with us today. No credit card is needed. This is a completely free online program. Even if you're incredibly busy or incredibly lazy and nothing else has worked for you in the past, this can work for you. In 3 short videos, I will take you by the hand and get you on the road to losing weight, and most importantly, happily keeping it off forever. So head over to foodloveonline.com and I'll see you over there. So get ready, get out your pen and paper, get your phone out, get your laptop, whatever you take notes on. Make sure to take notes because I'm going to be going over this stuff really fast. Logic is the slowest component of your brain. I'm not going to teach in a logical manner. I want you to go fast. I want you to learn this, and I want you to make changes immediately in your life. So if that's okay, I'm going to use the immersion method. And what that means is that we're going to be going deep into the material so you understand why this works for virtually anybody that uses it. Okay, the 3 food love secrets of non-restrictive weight loss. Secret number 1, eat the food you love. How to lose weight like crazy and happily keep it off forever by eating the food you love. Secret number 2, cheating is winning. How slipping, cheating, failing, going rogue, or off-roading on your diet is the key to making it work. And secret number 3, no time and no home support equals guaranteed success. How being insanely busy and having your family eat differently from you is your guarantee for success in weight loss. And now secret number 1, eat the food you love. How to lose weight like crazy and happily keep it off forever by eating the food you love. So I've been living in Mexico on and off for the past 15 years, and living in another country, you start to miss a lot of the food that you grew up with. And I would love going to pick up people at the airport in Mexico City because they had a Cinnabon there. And I'm like, oh God, I can have a Cinnabon like I used to when I was a kid, like going to the mall. And there was one of my favorite candies growing up that they don't sell here in Mexico called hot tamales. And one time when someone was coming down to visit me, like my mom sent a box of hot tamales to this guy and he brought it down to me. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I got to figure out how I could get these once in a while, you know, to kind of treat myself. And they have something down here in Mexico called Mercado Libre. It's the eBay of Latin America. And I just typed in hot tamales in Mexico and it came up. And so I ordered them, and it was going to take a couple days for them to get here. And I was all excited for them to come. And I'm like, geez, I'm 40 years old and I'm getting excited about candy coming. And finally they arrived and I was so excited. I opened it up. I ate the first one and I'm like, oh my God, this tastes exactly like hot tamales. Reminded me of being a kid. And I had the second one and it was still pretty good. And then I had the third one and it was like, well, not as good as the first and the second one. And then I proceeded to finish the rest of the box. And by the end, I'm like, oh, well, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, the excitement of waiting for it and that first hot tamale was great, but by the end, I'm like just eating candy, you know, and then afterwards it didn't feel so great. I just realized that food is a lot more than just the food that we're eating, just the biochemical makeup of the food and the nutrition of the food. There's a huge emotional element and psychological element. And when I realized, like, oh my God, like all three of these elements have to be together in order for a diet to work, that changed everything for me. Now, the main thing that messes everybody up in weight loss, and this is probably the number one reason why 99% of people that start on a diet end up quitting or failing or leaving or cheating on the diet, because they don't understand this concept. And why would they? Because nobody ever explains this. So the first major breakthrough that I had after having those hot tamales, and figures it comes after candy, is that food actually has three main parts. It has a biochemical part, an emotional part, and a psychological part. And when we talk about diet books and going on different diets, and we have all these famous medical doctors that are talking about, which way is best, this vegan doctor versus this keto doctor, et cetera, they're all talking in this area only, the biochemical area. Which type of food, is it better to be vegetarian? Is it better to just eat meat and have steak for breakfast? And all of these different biochemical arguments, but nobody's thinking about these two areas. And so you're just talking about one out of three areas of food. And so when you're just talking about biochemical, let's just say somebody goes on to a keto diet, and I've had a bunch of keto clients that have had success with keto, but they miss rice or French fries or whatever it is so much. And every single day they're just like, well, I'm really happy that I lost 25 pounds, but all I do is I think about the food that I can't have. And I explain to them, well, yeah, there's these two huge areas that are absolutely missing. And if you don't get these three areas right and get them in harmony, you're actually not going to be able to successfully lose weight in the short term or in the long term. Because even if you drop 15 pounds, but if you're psychologically not okay, if you're full of anxiety, if you're, if you're emotionally not okay, if you're thinking about food all of the time and you just don't feel right in life because of the diet that you're on. And what you're gonna see in this training is that once we start to align these areas, then everything starts to get easier. Can you imagine having a diet that is really yummy and is also feeding your cells and feeding your body what it needs, and emotionally and psychologically you're okay with that diet? Well, of course, common sense will tell us that that's gonna work. Balancing these three areas is incredibly important, and that's why 99% of people fail when they start out on a diet, because if you're just focused on what biochemical diet is going to lose weight, you can lose weight with vegan, vegetarian, carnivore, keto, name them, they all work for weight loss. But the reason why they don't work in the long run, beyond 6 months for the most part, is because they're not aligned in all three areas. So when you have a biochemical diet that you love and it works for you on the emotional and the psychological, then you have a win. Then you have freedom, and then you have joy and all these different things entering your life, because these other two areas haven't been ignored. If you're tired of diets that force you to give up your favorite foods in order to lose weight, only to put all that weight back on once you quit that diet, then I invite you to try my completely free online program that will help you lose your first 10 to 15 pounds without giving up the foods that you love. So head on over to foodloveonline.com and get started with us today. No credit card is needed. This is a completely free online program. Even if you're incredibly busy or incredibly lazy and nothing else has worked for you in the past, this can work for you. In 3 short videos, I will take you by the hand and get you on the road to losing weight, and most importantly, happily keeping it off forever. So head over to foodloveonline.com and I'll see you over there. And the second part of secret number 1 is something called food conditioning. Now, all of us grew up eating different types of food. So if you grew up in the northeastern part of the United States, or in Australia or Canada or the West Coast or the South of the United States, everyone grew up with different types of favorite foods. Sometimes it's influenced by the house you grew up in or the area, but everybody has a different type of food conditioning growing up, different favorite foods. That's why one size fits all dieting doesn't work for people. So besides these 3 areas, on top of it, everybody has different foods that are really special to them. And this is really important to consider going forward when we're trying to craft and customize the diet that's going to work best for you. And the last part of secret number 1 is that you always have to eat the food that you love, because it's going to cut your cravings by like over 95%. Because our cravings are driven mostly by these 2 areas down here that are not being satisfied by our emotions and psychologically being kept from food. And I mean, the moment that we're told that we can't have something, human beings freak out. And we like want and obsess over that thing even more, even if it's something that before we had tons of access to and we never really wanted it before. Now, because someone tells us we can't have it, we want it more than anything. So in order to make these 3 areas start to get into unison, we have to allow ourselves to eat our favorite foods. And the moment that you do that, your emotions chill out, psychologically, your mind, everything starts to chill out. And then we can actually get back to this area and create a harmony and create something that works for you. So that's why just understanding this and then going forward and figuring out how we're going to customize something for you, that's why it works, because we have these 3 areas together. It's pretty amazing stuff, right? And extremely common sense once it's explained to you. And now you know why you've struggled so much, because you have to have all 3 of these areas in harmony in order to have success in the short run and in the long run with weight loss. And the only way to do that is to always eat the food that you love. Okay, secret number 2, cheating is winning. How slipping, cheating, failing, going rogue, or off-roading on your diet is the key to making it work. So this secret starts off with a story too. One time when I was visiting my home state of New Jersey, I went to the Jersey Shore, and we have these legendarily large slices of pizza. And I had one of these slices of pizza, and it was amazing. Hadn't had it in, I don't know, like 10, 15 years. And then once I was done with the pizza, I was like, you know what? I think I want something else that I haven't had in a while. Let me go get the strawberry frosted donut from Dunkin' Donuts, one of my favorite donuts when I was growing up. And then after I had the donut, I started thinking like, okay, well, let me have something else that like I never have. Let me go have like a caffeinated milkshake from Starbucks with like lots of whipped cream, and I usually never have that. And afterwards, like an hour or 2 later, I was like, oh, like not feeling well at all. And I started thinking, I'm like, because I had that slice of pizza and that was this extra special event, and because of that, I wanted this other special thing, and then from the donut, another special thing. And I'm like, oh my God, that was such like this emotional and psychological thing that I did with eating. And I actually learned from the whole thing. And I'm like, well, I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I cheated or I did anything wrong. I actually learned from this. But how did I learn? Well, number 1, I learned by paying attention. And that's the first thing that we're going to talk about. You have to pay attention. So it's like we pay attention to all the areas of our life that mean something to us, right? Like we have to pay attention to work. We have to pay attention with our kids. We have to pay attention with our partners, with our spouse. If we don't pay attention in these areas, then things just go wrong and things don't work out. And so why is the area of food any different? We have to pay attention. And because I paid attention, I turned this thing, which could have been this, just throw in the towel and just start eating whatever. I turned this cheating, this off-roading experience into something positive because I learned from it. So that's number one. We always have to pay attention. And when we're paying attention and seeing why we're doing the things we're doing, then it's never cheating. We actually need those experiences. Those experiences are really important because they show us the different emotional and psychological connections that we have with food. The second thing is that we need to do these conscious, I call them R&D missions, and I talk about them in my book. And one of the stories I share is that I was so tired of seeing all these like late night pizza commercials. I don't know if I was seeing them on YouTube or where I was seeing them, but about, Pizza Hut and Papa John's and Domino's, etc. Like all the fast food pizza places. And I just started thinking, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna have them all. And I'm gonna, in my mind, I didn't tell anybody, I'm gonna deem this the Great Pizza Challenge. I'm gonna figure out who has the best fast food pizza. Because I had my favorite when I was growing up as a kid, but let me just see if anything's changed. So it's Little Caesars, Papa John's, Pizza Hut, and Domino's all in 1 week. And at the end of that week, I discovered something that was really important. I was like, you know what? They're all good, but they weren't great. And the whole experience was good, but it wasn't great. And I realized that our minds make things out to be what they're not. They really blow things out of proportion. And the only way to kind of cut that spell that our mind starts to create, especially with food for us, and it does it also with people, is that we actually have to have the thing. Now with people, we can't just be with any person that we want, any fantasy that we have. But with food, we can. And that's why these R&D missions are really important. So if you're ever thinking you know what, I don't know why, but I just feel like having this, you need to explore that. You need to go into that. And when you go into it, you're cutting the spell, so it's not gonna drive you nuts. You're not gonna feel like you're being kept from it. And it's also gonna teach you something because now you've learned to pay attention to all these little details. If you're tired of diets that force you to give up your favorite foods in order to lose weight, only to put all that weight back on once you quit that diet, then I invite you to try my completely free online program that will help you lose your first 10 to 15 pounds without giving up the foods that you love. So head on over to foodloveonline.com and get started with us today. No credit card is needed. This is a completely free online program. Even if you're incredibly busy or incredibly lazy and nothing else has worked for you in the past, this can work for you. In 3 short videos, I will take you by the hand and get you on the road to losing weight, and most importantly, happily keeping it off forever. So head over to foodloveonline.com and I'll see you over there. And this other thing that's really important, and again, it's also in my book, is that I talk about distinguishing eating for entertainment versus eating for energy. We have to have this area in our life where we're not thinking about am I eating the right food or whatever. It's just called eating for entertainment. We have to have that space in our life for the emotional and the psychological, for those other 2 areas, to be able to feel free. And when we have that space, we know hey, on Fridays, for example, when I worked in New York City, on Fridays it was fast food Friday. So during the week I'd eat pretty good, and on Fridays we just ate whatever. And because I knew that on Friday we were gonna have anything that we wanted, during the week I didn't care if I was eating a little bit on the healthier side. It didn't matter because I knew in my life I had this freedom. Or if I had a random friend call me up and ask me to go out to dinner, I wasn't gonna think twice about oh God, well, I'm eating good right now. It's no, this is eating for entertainment time. This has to happen. So having that distinguished in your mind and in your life, okay, I have times where I'm eating for me and I'm eating for energy. I'm eating to fuel myself and to feel good, biochemically, emotionally, and psychologically. And there are times when it's just you know what, if it's a barbecue, if it's a party or whatever, Super Bowl party, anything, You need to have that emotional and psychological freedom in your life so you know that you can eat for entertainment whenever you need to. And the last thing in this area, why cheating or off-roading or whatever you want to call it, why it's so incredibly important is that we never want anyone to say F it. And F it can be forget it, or it can be whatever else it is. But so often what happens is that people get into a situation and they're eating well or they're on a certain diet and then they eat for entertainment one night, or they'll just have a little pizza challenge or do what I did with going to the boardwalk and have something special, and then all of a sudden you find that you've eaten all these things you don't normally eat. People get so down on themselves and they're just like, oh, F it, I'm just gonna do whatever now, because I already broke the diet, I might as well just and you don't ever want to do that. And because you can eat whatever you want, and you should, and because you're paying attention to why certain things get triggered at certain times, whatever, you would never say that. You would never just throw in a towel, because there's no towel to ever throw in, because you can always have all of that stuff. And I'm going to show you why not saying F it is so incredibly important. So nobody loses weight in a straight line. Usually, especially with food love and non-restrictive weight loss, sometimes people, because they're going to open up to eating food that they haven't had in a while, they'll sometimes put on some weight and then it comes off and it goes down like this. And what happens is these are called upticks. These areas are incredibly important, because what happens is a person will start to lose weight, and then they're going to feel or see that they're going to start to put on weight. And one of the things I recommend, and again, it's in my book, never step on a scale. Your pants and a mirror are the best things for you to use, because a person's weight can fluctuate within a day, sometimes dramatically, between 5 and 20 pounds. It's crazy. So these upticks are usually when people will be like, oh, F it. And these upticks can happen because of birthday parties. It can happen because of the holiday season between Thanksgiving and New Year's. It can happen because of emotional reasons, psychological reasons, trouble at work, trouble in relationships. But it's during these upticks that we never say F it. We just stick with what we're doing in life. We see what's going on. Oh my God, I'm having these emotional difficulties, so I'm eating a little bit more. It's not a big deal. Because we're not saying F it, and then our weight just goes into the stratosphere and it gets even worse than what it was. It'll keep going down. And because we're always eating the food that we love, and we're aware of the 3 areas that make up the area of food, the biochemical, the emotional, and psychological, we know that these are going to happen, and we also know that they're completely normal. And the other thing is that once we get into the zone of in our ideal weight, usually what happens is this. This is very, very common. And this range, when you get into the zone, this is what happens with me. I'm filming this in January, post holiday season. So I've put on it, 10 to 15 pounds of that Thanksgiving to New Year's thing. It's totally normal, and I expect it, and it happens. But that's what happens within a year. And this range can be anywhere. This can be between 5 pounds to 20 pounds. So within a year, after we've gotten down to our ideal weight, we can go up and down within that zone. And the idea is, over time, we just keep shrinking that zone. We take it from 20 pounds down to 15. It'll vary 15 within a year. Then it'll vary 10. Usually between 5 and 10 pounds is pretty healthy, because there's different seasonal things. If you live in the north, you're going to have a propensity to want to eat heavier foods, more filling foods during the winter months, and that's totally normal. And so again, when things start to go up, because we know what upticks are, and we never say F it. There's no such thing as a bad run, because we're just aware of everything. That's life. Life is going to have all sorts of runs, emotional runs, psychological runs, celebratory runs, where you're going to be so happy and you're like, oh my God, I put on like 10 pounds because I was at all of these different celebrations and stuff. That happens too. So this is very, very normal. And what happens with people that use this type of information, that use this vehicle, something like the Food Love Transformation Accelerator, they never get worried. You live in this land of peace and freedom and victory permanently because you're permanently aware of what's going on, and you know that nothing is that big of a deal. If you put on 10 or 15 pounds, it's not that big of a deal because you know you can easily take it off, and you know it's natural. I mean, life is not a straight line in any direction. It's constantly, it's like any stock chart. Stock charts go up like this. Well, if we invert it, that's what healthy weight loss looks like. And then when we get down to our ideal weight, it's like this. So secret number 2, to wrap it up, it's all about there's no such thing as cheating anymore. There's no such thing as failing or falling or any of that kind of stuff, because all of it is something that we can learn from, and all of it is a natural part of weight loss and of life. If you're tired of diets that force you to give up your favorite foods in order to lose weight, only to put all that weight back on once you quit that diet, then I invite you to try my completely free online program that will help you lose your first 10 to 15 pounds without giving up the foods that you love. So head on over to foodloveonline.com and get started with us today. No credit card is needed. This is a completely free online program. Even if you're incredibly busy or incredibly lazy and nothing else has worked for you in the past, this can work for you. In 3 short videos, I will take you by the hand and get you on the road to losing weight, and most importantly, happily keeping it off forever. So head over to foodloveonline.com and I'll see you over there. Now, secret number 3, no time and no home support equals guaranteed success. How being insanely busy and having your family eat differently from you is actually your guarantee for success in weight loss. So when I used to work in New York City, I was beyond busy. My time was in crazy demand for my own clients, and I ran a team of real estate agents, and I didn't have any time to eat or to think about eating or to eat properly. And very often the day would go by, it'd be 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I hadn't had lunch. I had breakfast very, very early in the morning. And so I just run out starved and just eat whatever. And I actually thought that because I wasn't thinking so much about food, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I must be doing well in this area. But my mind was so occupied emotionally and psychologically with what I was doing at work, where the biochemical area kind of takes a back seat. And I'm sure that's happened with you guys as well. You get into a certain zone and you just forget to eat, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm starving. Because these 2 areas were running things, and then the biochemical area is like, listen, you got to eat, we've got cells that need to be taken care of. That wasn't working. And then I would just, I would be really starved and eat whatever late in the afternoon, and then usually feel not so great later on because of that. And I'm like, okay, I need to plan and I need to organize. I'm super busy, and in any other area of my life, if I'm really busy and if these areas are important, of course I'm going to plan and organize a little bit. So what I started doing was I had all these different menus from places that I would order out from. And I had this alarm go off on my iPhone every single day at 10 a.m. I would order. I wasn't hungry at that time, but that was before things really started to get crazy in my office. So I just had a rotation, like this place on Mondays, different place on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday was fast food Friday, so I didn't have to worry. But those first 4 days, I just pull out the menu, I would pick something, I'd order it, and the food would arrive usually a little bit before 11, and I would eat. I'd almost be forcing myself to eat. And what was great is that I was eating before other people's food came, so like I was able to make like better decisions. And I wasn't influenced because this person got pizza or this person went to Chick-fil-A or whatever. I just ordered what I needed for me that day, something that was super yummy, but something that I knew would also fuel me. And that was such an epiphany to me, because I'm like, okay, because I'm so busy, I actually have to plan. And so that planning also went to my home. And so I would only have certain things for myself, like in the house. And I would make sure that I would have the different snacks I needed. And so my day became really balanced and regimented, where like I knew, okay, I'd always need like a mid-morning snack, so I had something in my desk at work. And then, I had that lunch, I would have a late afternoon snack. And then when I got home, I wasn't starving. It really didn't matter to me what everybody else wanted or what everybody else was eating. Usually what I did, if let's just say everyone's having chicken parm, and which is, fried chicken with cheese and sauce on it, super yummy. And I was starting to eat a little bit better, starting to lose weight. I would make an Italian dish for myself, pretty much 90% of what everybody else was having. And because I wasn't hungry, I wasn't like, oh my God, I want their fried chicken covered with cheese and sauce. I had my own thing that was 95% of what they were having. But because my day was organized and I had planned out all my different meals, and if I ever got hungry and I was in my car, I had these certain bars that I kept in my car that were great, that made everything so much easier. And so there wasn't any pressure at home for people to change what they were eating. I was on my trip. I was doing my thing. And it's also really important when people start asking you, hey, what are you doing? Just be like, I'm just starting to eat a little bit better, but I'm still eating yummy stuff. I'm just cutting down on certain things or only having them special times, whatever I said. Then they would want to copy me. I wasn't getting into savior syndrome, which is like, listen, I'm doing this, and so all of you guys should do it, which will put everybody off. You don't want to do that. You don't want to impose that on a spouse or your kids. Let them ask you, and then don't jump on them after they ask you. You're like, oh, I was waiting for that opportunity. They can feel that as well. Just make listen, if you want me to make this for you next time, I can make it for you, like no problem. And as long as you're doing your thing and you're not getting too preachy about the thing that you're doing, people will naturally gravitate towards you, especially if they feel you emotionally and psychologically better. And if they see that you're starting to lose weight and starting to feel better in general, you're going to be attractive, and naturally people are going to want to follow that. No one wants to follow being preached at. That doesn't feel good to anybody. If you're tired of diets that force you to give up your favorite foods in order to lose weight, only to put all that weight back on once you quit that diet, then I invite you to try my completely free online program that will help you lose your first 10 to 15 pounds without giving up the foods that you love. So head on over to foodloveonline.com and get started with us today. No credit card is needed. This is a completely free online program. Even if you're incredibly busy or incredibly lazy and nothing else has worked for you in the past, this can work for you. In 3 short videos, I will take you by the hand and get you on the road to losing weight, and most importantly, happily keeping it off forever. So head over to foodloveonline.com and I'll see you over there. So to wrap up this last secret, it's incredibly important to be able to eat with your family. And sometimes when it's eating for entertainment day or night or whatever it is, I just have pizza with them, because it's okay to do that. Or I'll make little changes if we're getting subs or getting something from Subway or something like that. I'll make like a little change that's not even noticeable to them, but it just makes me feel better that I'm doing it. And so it's super important that being busy is actually the best excuse to organize all these different things. And if your family wants to eat differently, that doesn't matter, because you can kind of take your meals and what you're doing and have it be the same. If your kids like to have ice cream in the fridge or whatever the deal is, you can have all of your special setups. And that's what I talk about in the book, and especially what we go over in the Food Love Transformation Accelerator. We go deep, but these areas, the biochemical and the emotional and the psychological areas, are really, really deep, getting into different recipes and cooking styles and things for busy people when they don't have time to cook. That in itself could be a massive course, just the biochemical, but the emotional and psychological, they're all equally important, and we have to learn all of them together. So this is the end of the 3 secrets, and this information took me so long and so much energy and time and money to learn. And I really hope that you guys can do something really special with it in your life. So to wrap up this video training and kind of put everything together so you can take all of these things and use them in your life, basically we need to approach the area of food first and foremost from the emotional and the psychological, meaning that we have to be happy. So the first question I'll ask any of my new clients when they're saying, oh, I need to lose weight, the first question I'll always ask is, okay, what are your favorite foods? Every single time there's like, you feel the air leave the room and a smile comes on their face. And sometimes they ask, well, why are you asking me that? I'm like, well, in order for your diet to be successful and for you to successfully lose weight, we have to use the food that you love. There's no other way to do it. And you'd be surprised just the relief and the sense of joy that comes over them in that moment. One of the chapters in my book, it's called Black to White. And you can't go from your old diet and then swing dramatically to something brand new that is so far away from where you've been eating and expect it to work. You can't do it. And so the metaphor that I give in the book is about a lake. And you have to cross this really, really long lake that's going from your old diet to these new diets that, you know, pretty much in every single diet book that's out there. And that's an impossible swim. But if there were docks spaced across the entire lake about 10 to 15 yards apart, and if there was a wooden bridge connecting all the docks, you could go from one little dock to the next. And that's how sustainable weight loss works. You have to take one little step. And as you're taking those steps, not only are you gaining control in your life, but you're also going to start losing weight. But the weight that you're going to lose, this is permanent weight loss. This isn't just, I'm going on a fad diet for 3 months, I've lost some weight, now I'm going back to eating the way that I always have, and I'm going to put it back on and more. It's permanent weight loss, and you're going to understand how you can add weight and how you can easily take off weight. Like, I know I'm about to go to New York in 2 weeks. I know I'm going to put on weight, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having pizza. I'm looking forward to having all my favorites when I go to New York. If you go on vacation, like, enjoy the food. Understand that you're going to put on some weight, and I don't care because I know how to take it off. And by you using these secrets as a base in your life, you're going to have full control where you're going to know how to take off weight eating your favorite foods. You'll easily know as a pro. You guys are probably pros already. I'm a definite pro of putting on weight. I can put it on in 1,000 different ways. And so because we can put it on and take it off at will, and we're never restricting ourselves from our favorite foods, then the whole process becomes doable. So I hope you enjoyed this video training, and I have just a short offer to explain to you. If I can just take a couple minutes, it'd be really, really cool to explain. If you want to take the next steps, I can kind of outline what they can be. I'd love for you not only to become a part of the Food Love family, pick up a copy of Food Love. You can try the Food Love Kickstarter, and ideally, if you became part of our Transformation Accelerator community, that would be amazing. So in these next couple minutes, I've just explained a little bit about that. It's been my pleasure sharing all this with you guys, and I hope to see you soon. If you're tired of diets that force you to give up your favorite foods in order to lose weight, only to put all that weight back on once you quit that diet, then I invite you to try my completely free online program that will help you lose your first 10 to 15 pounds without giving up the foods that you love. So head on over to foodloveonline.com and get started with us today. No credit card is needed. This is a completely free online program. Even if you're incredibly busy or incredibly lazy and nothing else has worked for you in the past, this can work for you. In 3 short videos, I will take you by the hand and get you on the road to losing weight, and most importantly, happily keeping it off forever. So head over to foodloveonline.com and I'll see you over there.